VGC is supported by Patreon. Check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle for more podcasts, ad-free browsing, and extra content. Thank you for your support. It's alright, you are dancing through the lightning strikes. It's VGC the Video Game Podcast, episode 144, with me, Jordan Midler, Chris Scullion, and Andy Robinson. This week, how much is the next Xbox going to cost? And Andy's been buying Nintendo Tat. But first, how we doing, folks? Chris Scullion, man of the family computer disk system. How are we?
I'm doing good. Just the same as usual. It's been a fairly uneventful week, and all things considered, just life-wise. Just one of those ones that just, one of those ones you look and suddenly it's Friday and you go, all right, that's another one.
Yeah.
Take that one off.
Another one closer to death.
Exactly. So yeah, counting down.
Yeah, I'm currently in a situation where I've not had a day where I've not posted something with the word Pokemon or Shiny on this website.
I was going to say, that was your sleepiest intro of all time.
About 10 days. So I also played football last night, and because it was so cold, every time I got hit with the ball, it was like getting punched in the tits by Mike Tyson. So it's been a great 24 hours. Andy Robinson, how are we doing this week?
Hello.
Friday.
Was I on the pod last week? I don't even know what day it is.
I think
anymore.
You're thinking of off topic. I think last week was just being
I was on the off topic. That's right. Yeah. So actually, I've not been on a pod for a while.
Yeah,
apparently.
He's
He's back. Finally.
I'm back.
1 week old.
It's good again.
Before he gets
I'm
sent
back.
to...
I was at Gamescom Asia in Bangkok, which is a crazy, crazy place.
Did you bring
after like 2-3 days, I was like overstimulated.
Yeah.
I just needed like a quiet room.
Did you bring any trinkets back?
Yes, I did.
Yes, leadingly.
How funny you should ask. A good friend of mine, a friend of the show, Daniel Robson, who is one of the bosses at IGN Japan, he was in Malaysia with Hank Rogers, the
Tetris.
I like to call him he would refute this, that Alexei made Tetris, but I would call Hank Rogers the Tetris co-creator, right? Like, he's invested so much into the success and notability of that game that I think I feel like calling him that. So they were in Malaysia together, and Hank apparently found these, which have now been gifted to me, which are Tetris condoms.
Close fit. Close fit.
I'm imagining you put them on like Tetris as well. Dun, 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 dun. However, there's a twist. Well, not on the condoms itself. I imagine they're pretty straight.
That'd be like
apparently, Hank discovered these in the shop. I hope he doesn't mind me telling this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
With his drawers down.
And these are totally unlicensed.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So a chance discovery of the Tetris Durex in a shop in Malaysia is now probably going to lead to a cease and desist.
Do we think they're doubly unlicensed? Do you think it's unlicensed by Durex and unlicensed by Tetris? It's just some random chance they're making them?
Also, I think you'll know, to the risk of sounding like a massive nerd, when you look at the box, those pieces are made of 5 squares instead of 4.
Yeah.
So it's especially the pieces dropping. But just fingers crossed you get a long one and not the Z-shaped one, because that's going to be uncomfortable.
Don't know what shape your penis is, mate, but
it's the Z one.
Yeah, mine's is a T.
It's rotating it that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we've started this week on quite such a low ebb. But if you want to hear more about Gamescom Asia, etc., including me not knowing where Andy actually was in a slightly inappropriate faux pas, check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle for our off-topic podcasts and ad-free browsing, extra content, etc., and so on, including our lovely season ticket holders, including our patron of the week, Martimus Prime. Chris, Martimus Prime, not actually named after Transformers. He's just murdered the rest of his Martimus clan and thus become the Prime member. And since doing that, he's decided to support a podunk video game website with his hard-earned cash.
I remember back when he used to just be called Martimus Delta, and he's worked his way up through the Martimus ranks, and now, like you said, there are no more Martimi left, and he really is the sole one. So I appreciate him taking the time to be our Patreon with all the kind of killing and slaying he's been doing.
Have I missed this feature, by the way?
Every time we have somebody new on, I know Andy's not been on for a while. Chris String get confused by this as well.
Chris String gets confused by most things.
That's true, but it's a conceit to make the Patreon season.
I like
ticket
it. It's a
holder
good
thing.
idea.
We basically make up a story about someone.
Make up? You've just absolutely.
Sorry, I mean retell.
Yeah, great.
The true story of an actual patron every week.
After Martimus Prime, I was really hoping that we would stop accusing our patrons of crimes every week, but I think that's probably the road to go down. They can wear it with pride. I look forward to one of them being read in court. Story number 1. This week, the Nintendo London pop-up store opened and they popped up with Chris Drink. What did you buy? What's there that you can't get on the Nintendo UK website? And as a man who's been to Japan every 20 minutes for the last 3 years...
I'm the Nintendo store final boss, mate.
Yeah. You are the person to ask about this. Why should Johnny Punter go or not go?
It was better than I expected, actually. They've basically shipped a load of containers of Nintendo Tokyo store merch over to London. I was expecting it to be bare bones, but it's quite a lot of stuff there.
The video you said was pretty big.
If you look on the website, I've documented every single thing you can buy there, and there's a little walkthrough video as well. It's I think by my calculations, you'd have to spend like well over $2,500 to buy everything. It's like notable stuff. Like there's Nintendo Tokyo and Osaka t-shirts, which I think is a bit rubbish. You can't get a London one, and the double whammy of cheapening, any t-shirts bought from the actual stores, so that the people of West London will now be covered in Tokyo and Osaka Nintendo t-shirts. There's a absolute metric truck ton of plushies, including like giant mushroom plushies. There's tons and tons of Pikmin stuff and tons of Animal Crossing kind of plushies and shirts and mugs and plates, and so there's a lot of stuff there you can only get in the Japan stores and probably the San Francisco and New York stores. In terms of exclusive stuff, pretty much nothing. You can buy a tote bag. I think I've got it here somewhere.
Oh, here we go.
It's
so it does have London on it. So it says pop-up store London. So this is the little one, which is like £3-4, I think. And then there's a larger one, but yeah, it's the same thing. Like, it's just the same thing.
Do you think they didn't do a t-shirt so that people didn't see it after it's closed and go, oh, there's a Nintendo store in London? And then they go, oh, well, there used to be.
Who bloody knows with Nintendo, right? I mean, you could make up any explanation for why they didn't do did do a thing. And it could well be the case, right? They just make stuff up as they go along. I imagine it's because they didn't want to spend any money on it. And I imagine it was incredibly complex and expensive to ship all of that stuff over, that Japan stuff. Yeah. But approvals for new products would be an all new thing, perhaps. But yeah, no, it's very, very cool. But clearly for people who haven't been lucky enough to visit the America or Japan stores, if you have been to them, I mean, there's a good chance you're just going to, kind of walk around the store and then, buy something for the sake of it, which I pretty much did. There's a Lego store across the street from it. It's opposite the Lego store as well, so you can go and get some Nintendo Lego.
Yeah, I was quite surprised that there was no exclusive stuff, because obviously when they do different company technically, but when they do the Pokemon Centers, that's all about the exclusive stuff that you can only get at that pop-up, and kind of always has been the driving force for that. Even since the Pokemon Center launched in the UK, they still keep stuff to the physical locations, but I can understand. Also, this is like on for, there's the dog, this is on for significantly longer than the Pokemon Centers are. Like, the Pokemon Centers are 2 or 3 days, whereas this is longer than that.
What do you think you would have? Do you think you'd have like a Bowser plush like draped in a Union Jack?
Mario dressed as a Beefeater and all that kind of shit. Like, they could have done a few little things. The lack of a London t-shirt is the most baffling thing to me, because I think that's like quite a cool, because I've got one from New York and I've got the Tokyo one that you got me, Chris.
Yeah, that would have been great. It is a big shame. I mean, I'm not exactly going to start rocking my Nintendo London pop-up tote bag. I'm not even sure why I bought it, to be honest.
Does it say pop-up on it?
Yeah,
That's
does.
so
It says
stupid.
pop-up. I'm sure it does, right? I've not just imagined that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pop-up store in London.
So in a sense, it's actually probably a good thing they didn't make the t-shirts, because the t-shirt
Pop-up
would
store
say
in London.
Nintendo pop-up
Yeah.
store.
Nintendo pop-up store in London.
Yeah.
It's a little bit strange, but I'm sure that'll make an absolute mint. Is it still a reservation thing only, or can people rock up? Like, what's
it's all
public
reserved.
experience?
I believe it's reserved this week. I mean, the details are on videogameschronicle.com.
I've heard of it.
It's reservations this week, I believe, until next week, maybe.
Yeah, it's only a few days,
like
isn't it,
28th,
reservation?
29th, something like that,
Yeah.
I think. And God knows what's going to happen then. I mean, if it's anything like the Pokemon stores, good luck getting in there, right?
Yeah.
But there's no exclusive items, so maybe there'll be less.
Well, Jink will be left on like the last day, just like Splatoon and Pikmin stuff mostly.
Pikmin, definitely.
imagine. I think Splatoon's even less popular here, though, isn't it?
What's the
You could
ranking,
really
you think?
tell, like how you could really tell. I mean, Pikmin, they just brute force that game through. You know, we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
Again, Pikmin lover. But yeah, I thought that, Chris, that in the Japan stores, probably Splatoon and Animal Crossing are by far the biggest sections, like alongside obviously Mario. But the Splatoon, I think it's like a Splatoon shelf. You know,
Yeah. It is crazy, because when you look at when Famitsu sometimes do their reader polls of what the most popular games are, like Splatoon's always in the top 5. It's like for some reason they get it and we don't, and it's so obviously. I mean, like my kid's still into it; she's going as an Inkling at Halloween, but it's weird how obviously it's not weird. I get it. None of her pals know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And it's really awkward when like she's dressed and the parents are all going, "Oh, what are you dressing up for as Halloween?" I'm like, "Oh, she's going as," and then you have to explain what Splatoon is, and they'll just look at you like you're just
She's
stabbed
Mario.
someone.
What do you think? What do you think the ranking is of the big 5 that they push? That being Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Pikmin. I think it's probably Mario, Animal Crossing, Zelda,
Yeah,
Pikmin, Splatoon. Those last two may be interchangeable, but
no, that's probably the right order, I'd say.
Yeah.
In the West at least.
yeah.
Zelda would be bottom in Japan. No, the fact.
well, it depends whether you're talking about like games or game sales or IP, right?
Yeah.
IP relevance maybe. But yeah,
Because Sonic, the IP seems more popular, especially in Japan.
Oh,
but
100%.
worldwide,
Sonic, the
than
Sonic games don't
people-
really sell.
No.
Great
I'm
music.
surprised that Sonic Racing just passed 1 million, apparently, which is quite surprising.
it's
but-
in pole position. It's speeding up into the turn.
behind Mario Kart.
Yeah, Mario Kart World. What a game, everybody's favourite. Well, you can go and check out the Nintendo London store right now today. Just rock up, tell them Video Games Chronicle sent you, and they'll go, "Oh, welcome in." It's a me.
They'll be like, "Who?"
Yeah, who?
Ronnie Pickering.
Story number 2. The next Xbox console is, quote, premium system, which shares, quote, some of the thinking behind the ROG Ally. Sarah Bond says. Sarah Bond suggested that the new Xbox console will share some of the thinking behind that handheld that we talked about last week. Chris has been messing about with it. In an interview with Mashable, everyone's favourite potato-based outlet, it was put to Bond that the next Xbox console is rumoured to be a hybrid system capable of playing both Xbox console and PC games. While Bond wouldn't be drawn into confirming or denying this, her reply did suggest that the next Xbox system will have a high price point and will share at least some things in common with the ROG Xbox Ally devices. Quote, "Well, I can tell you're right. The next-gen console is going to be very premium, very high-end curated experience," Bond replied. "You're starting to see some of the thinking that we have in this handheld, but I don't want to give it all away." Chris Scullion, is this going to be £1,200 for this big beast Xbox 3?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll be there.
Of course you will.
Day one. Yeah, it's looking that way. I mean, she's not obviously going to give it away right now, but
Can you imagine?
when she says Mashable gets the world exclusive,
She goes, yeah, all right then, here we go.
seeing as it's Mashable, when she says you're starting to see some of the thinking in the ROG Ally, there's literally nothing else she could mean, because it doesn't do anything else different. Like it plays PC games and it's got different stores on it. That's all it does. So that's the only thinking behind it. So she must mean that the next Xbox can play games from other stores. Phil Spencer said that last year. He said, I want us to be able to play games from Steam and GOG and Epic Game Store and Itch.io and stuff like that. So they've been lining it up. Every time Phil Spencer says something, it happens 2 years down the line. He's saying, we need to do a handheld appears. We need to add games from other stores on the next console. So
we need to close.
It's at the point now where if they don't do that, they've made a complete arse of this because they're telegraphing it. They just need to actually deliver on it.
My question has always been around this suggestion, and Andy, you might be able to enlighten me on this, or at least give your thoughts. How will third-party publishers take it when, if on the next Xbox, I can buy Borderlands 5, for example, for 70 quid off the Xbox store or 45 quid off the Steam store? I'm obviously going to buy it for the lower price and give them less money. Surely that goes against what the big publishers see in the console ecosystem, which is this locked down, guaranteed price. You're buying it here or else.
Well, obviously, I mean, we should probably talk about the Jason Schreier Bloomberg story that came out this week, where he kind of reported that the kind of Microsoft's gaming division is under pressure to hit 30% profit margins, which is very, very high in the games industry. I don't think PlayStation is hitting those. Only very, very successful, companies in their pomp are hitting those kind of margins. So the point being that it sounds pretty realistic, and the bigger point being that Xbox is allegedly being incentivized to really kind of prioritize these big successful games now. Your Fallouts, your World of Warcrafts, your Diablos, Call of Duty, etc., which doesn't kind of look good for people like Double Fine, who just had a game come out last week, or even. Is Sea of Thieves, kind of strong enough? It asks a lot of questions, right? But also that kind of has implications for the hardware. I mean, especially those comments that from Sarah Bond about it being very premium. And I mean, look at how much they've raised the price of the current consoles. Look at how much a PS5 Pro costs. Do we think a next-gen Xbox is going to cost less than $1,000 at this point?
No.
Are they? Does this sound like a company that's going to take the hit like they have done in the past in order to build install base and build users? Yeah. I don't think so. The Razer Blades model seems to be dead and buried, where companies would sell hardware at a loss and make their money back from software. Those days seem to be gone, certainly for Microsoft. So yeah, who bloody knows at this point? Like, I mean, by the time the people are listening to this, they might have announced a Halo game for PS5, which is happening Friday today as day of record, allegedly. I mean, that's a moment, right? Like, that feels like, I know Gears of War's on PS5, but it kind of does feel like, I don't want to go into the realm of conjecture, but it almost does feel like they've just been very softly, transitioning to this, right? No, because they built this fan base, and they did a really great job, to be fair, of building this community around Xbox during a tough time for the brand. And they created this kind of siege mentality. And I always looked at Phil Spencer on stage at these shows and thought, you're like one or two unpopular sentences away from getting like rushed on the stage. These fans will beat you up. Like, if he's up there and he says, I don't like hardware and I think PS5's great. And anyway, live service games. And like, you just got the impression that, he'd created the monster and he needs to kind of feed these guys what they want to hear. And it kind of does feel like that at the moment, because, what if Halo's on PS5 and, I know they've just announced
one, isn't it? Halo's the last one.
I know they've just announced Forza, is coming. I think it's Xbox only next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
it's at launch, so maybe that's just a limitation.
Even that, anyone would question that, right? It's not surprising to hear that a lot of their games have done really well on PS5. Indiana Jones apparently did really well. Sea of Thieves did really well on PS5. I'm sure the other ones did as well. It's just, it makes sense. It's one or the other, right? You've got Sarah Bond coming out and saying that the exclusives are dead, and then you've got hey, Forza Horizon is exclusive for a while. So I believe what they're telling you. I do believe that this is the direction of travel. They are taking the bet that this is what games are going to look like in the long term, and certainly hardware looks like it's going to be a Brucey bonus for them in the long term.
I mean, Bond was right in what she said, in that the biggest games in the world are all multi-format games, like Fortnite, Roblox. These are the games that people expect to be able to just cross progress on every format and play with your pals on every format. Call of Duty, like this is just the way it is. The most successful games in the world are the ones you can play on anything.
I mean, I find that difficult to like. If you're an Xbox fan, do you care that your game you're enjoying is the biggest game in the world? No. I don't care. Like, at what point did it transition in general fandom to us giving monkeys about? Sorry, I got a screaming dog. Caring at all about how many sales your favourite game did?
Oh yeah. I don't mean it from a winning a.
No. I'm not saying you, but you're just repeating what she's saying. But people are like, we'll take it that way. Oh yeah, she's right. Who cares? Yeah. Console exclusives used to be great because they were the sort of games that wouldn't get made by third-party publishers at a level of quality and polish that was not sustainable for third-party publishers to fund. Because they shifted consoles and people kind of came into the ecosystem and they bought other stuff, right? Even like for Nintendo, there's loads of Nintendo games that they make that are not getting made if they're not a platform. They go third party. Metroid Prime 4 is not coming out in a third party Nintendo, because the thing about Metroid Prime 4, it's a different type of game. It brings different people to the ecosystem who will go and buy other stuff. Like you look at like Ghost of Yotei, there's a level of polish on a first party game. And I've spoken to people at PlayStation Studios about this recently, and they kind of confirmed it, that sort of, you can almost see that is a something behind the scenes. Like, look, what is the extra layer of polish we're going to put on that you just won't get outside of a first party game? And like Ghost of Yotei has the music, the hip hop music. What's it called?
The Watanabe mode.
Yeah. That's the sort of stuff where they go above and beyond, more and more like stuff that probably costs a lot of money and a lot of effort that you're just is not sustainable if you're third party. So that's the shame. It's that, when they're chasing the graph, I don't know. You just get jumped on for anything negative about Xbox these days. I think everyone's just so bored of
I think more to extrapolate on what I was saying was it seems like she was prepping us for this Halo announcement, because that's going to be, if she's basically saying, without saying it, if you don't want this next Halo to be Halo Infinite again, it needs to be on PS5. It needs to be if you want it to become a Helldiver situation rather than a Halo Infinite situation, you can't make it Xbox and PC only. It needs to be on PlayStation at launch. Otherwise, that player base is going to be much smaller than it could be, and it won't have the chance to blow up. So it really is. Although Xbox fanboys won't accept it, this is where they need to go now to keep getting the games they want to play. If they want another Halo, they need to accept it. It's being opened up to a wider audience in order to keep them going, basically, because otherwise they're doing a Sega but still making the hardware at this point. And Sega are still around, so
Sega. You know who from Sega really is still around, Chris? Your friend of mine, Sonic the Hedgehog. He was in Alton Towers for a wee while. The Sonic statue that used to sit outside Spinball Wizard when it was Sonic Spinball can now be found at the Alton Towers staff canteen. And if you're on the little cable cars taking you through the park, there's a point you can look down and Sonic's just sat there. Well, he's standing. He's not sat in his arse. He's got dressed it. I think he's getting at one of these, maybe.
Do the classic.
Although maybe I think he might be actually in cool guy pose, because I think this was
the arms folded
potentially, because I think this was that era of Sonic rather than finger wag Sonic.
I never understood the finger wag. I didn't know if that was a Japanese thing, but I never understood that kind of pose. I don't know what that means. It seems as I'm saying I'm number one.
Oh, okay.
Because it looks like he's turning up saying, Don't fuck around.
I'm fast. I don't know if you've heard, but I'm this fast guy. So
I will kill you before you even blink. But I never really understood the finger wag bit.
Well, we'll get Sonic on here to talk about it. That was just a bit of light-hearted levity.
Speaking of which, and we've not spoken about this, if you tried, I reported on this last week and decided to try it, that Sonic can now be used as a navigator on that Waze app when you're driving.
Wonderful. Why would
I used it once to try it, and it's the first and last time I will be using it. It is so annoying. Like I said, I went to Asda and so just set directions from Asda back to the house just to see what it says. And literally as soon as you start it, it's like, hey, let's go. Let's get on an adventure. All right. You start driving.
That's very 2005. That's very Tom voice.
I know, but it's all it's like, turn left, here we go, and then look out for badniks. I'm like, Jesus. And it gets to the point, there's one funny bit where you get to the roundabout and he goes, at the roundabout, take the fourth exit. Let me just check the other ones. Yep, fourth one. And you're like, oh, very funny.
That's great, mate. I'm on my roof.
Exactly.
I'm in the middle of the M8 on my
hurry up, what way? You're going to 70 mile an hour and he's like, I believe the place you want to go. Hurry up. I'm dying here.
I had a Gordon Ramsay one of them, but it was broken because it could only give you one direction. You know what it was?
What?
Right.
Go on.
Little bit of light-hearted humour while we transition into story number 3. More than 1,200
that's why One Direction
journalists have left the media in the last 2 years. Here's a bit of original reporting from VGC. According to data supplied to us by Press Engine, a popular PR tool used by developers and publishers to distribute codes and press releases to a global database of journalists and content creators. According to Press Engine, more than 600 journalists who regularly cover video games at major outlets around the world have disappeared from their database in the last 12 months. Virtually the same number of people left their position in the 12 months before that, and the firm said haven't taken up roles at other media companies since. And I'll just pause there so we can kind of give a bit of context to that number for people that might not understand it. That's people who've maybe like retired or have been laid off and left entirely. That's just a more kind of encapsulating number.
So Press Engine, for people who aren't familiar, as you kind of just read out, they kind of have a global database of journalists and content creators, so that companies can distribute codes and press releases. It's a tool that a lot of game developers, publishers, PR agencies use to send things to press. So therefore, they've got a large, probably the biggest database of press, right? And it's my understanding of the way that it works is that it's not like a manual thing. It comes from mailing lists from real companies who are speaking to press, and if they get bounce back. So, for example, there were, it was sad to see like a load of layoffs at the Gamer website this week. Those guys already came off because their emails started bouncing. They were removed. Their emails, it's quite automated. So this 1,200 figure over 2 years is from tier 1 publications that cover games, which they define as major websites, both specialist and mainstream, with 7-figure plus audiences, basically. And the vast majority of specialist sites it means like game sites like IGN, Polygon, GameSpot, VGC, sites like that. So that 1,200 figure over 2 years, that represents about a quarter of all journalists covering games. If you add amateur or part-time or freelance writers to that, the number goes well over 4,000 people in 2 years. It's startling, right? Like, I mean, it kind of like, it just shows you what a significant drop there's been on the number of people writing about video games and have chosen to either change their profession or haven't been able to get a job, right? So that's either people who've left or have been made redundant. We've been doing this for like more than 20 years, me and Chris. People always leave the games media. It's not like a very extremely well-paid job. People always leave and do something else. There's always been a big brain drain in the media because it doesn't do a great job of holding on to people. But this is kind of startling, the fact that it's like these jobs are not coming back.
Yeah.
I've only got I mean, there's been I saw. I mean, and I did this as well. I obviously question the figures as well. You want to, when you're reporting on something, you want to make sure that your figures are accurate. I saw some people, some other journalists questioning the 1,200 number, but it's worth stressing. This is like all journalists who cover games. So if you write for the Guardian and you write about games, the Guardian is not a game site. But they would, count you as a games journalist, right? Because you're writing about games for them.
The Seattle Gazette, all those kind of like small local places.
Yeah, but it's a big major. These are big websites that have got like more than 1 million, readers, right? And this is all languages. So I've only been given 2025 data in terms of geos for by Press Engine, but certainly this year, according to their data, half of all departures, so I'll call them departures because some of these may be people just quitting their jobs and not coming back, but certainly, the assumption from what we see, the amount of layoffs there have been on sites like IGN and Polygon and now The Gamer and there's been lots and lots of layoffs the last 18 months, just like in the wider games industry. We can assume that majority of these are layoffs. There's no way to know. Half of all departures were in the US and the UK, just about half. And then the rest, the final 2 quarters, a quarter was in Europe, and the final quarter is rest of the world. Although you can assume that, and again, this is an assumption, I don't know how big Press Engine's coverage of non-English language speaking territories is. So maybe that figure is, just through the pure numbers, statistics, you'd assume that that's probably even bigger.
Yeah, there may be alternatives in Asia or something like that that aren't Press Engine. Yeah.
Also, and there's a note here, right? I mean, sure, I'll get to this bit. I did a talk at Gamescom Asia, right? Part of the reason I was there is they asked me to do a talk about the games media and there's a lot of indie game developers at these events, and they want to know, how do we get our games covered by the media, right? Please, Andy, tell us, how do we get your games covered? But, so I'm on the plane there and I was, obviously prepared for this. And you're sat there thinking like, do I tell them what they want to hear, or do you just tell them the truth, which is it's horrendous out there right now? How do we get you to cover our games? Well, I don't know. And in the end, like, I spoke to some friends and they convinced me, like, look, you should just tell people the truth so they understand what's going on in the media. And it's really tough right now, right? I mean, obviously we launched a Patreon last year and that's been like massive for us. But you've also seen lots of sites like close or be, reduce significantly. You've seen Polygon go to Valnet. You've seen Giant Bomb almost, kind of disappear. And thankfully, we're allowed to go independent. You've seen layoffs across, sites like Gamer Network, IGN, Fandom, everywhere. According to the Press Engine, on average, traffic in the last year across all game sites has reduced by, I think it was 40% on average. That's huge, right? And there's a couple of reasons for that. But the big reason is that, Google is eating our lunch. I mean, Google was the ecosystem that supported independent websites or any websites, commercial websites. Yeah. There was something called a helpful content update a couple of years ago. I think it was 2023, maybe. But certainly that's when the changes really started. I mean, you can see them as a user. You go onto Google now and you search. It's pulling up an AI summary. It's pulling the content out. Essentially, Google transformed from a search engine into what it is now, which is an answer engine. Google is not helping you find websites. It's giving you answers, right? It's just giving you the information, which obviously absolutely torpedoes websites that have built their businesses around Google for the last, kind of 10, 15 years. You can call that what it is, which, is a house of cards and, but that's just the facts, is that probably I'd say on average, at least half of every website's traffic comes from Google. That's how people consume content on the internet. So that changing is obviously, is just disastrous for any commercial website. So that's happened. But then it becomes this spiral where again, it's from this tracking from Press Engine. This is all stuff that we do this day to day, so we can feel it, sense it.
Yeah,
so
we see it. Yeah.
When you see the numbers, you're like, okay, that reinforces what I already believe to be true.
Yeah.
Which is also what this has caused is that the sites left, the people left, are now increasingly targeting the biggest games. So then the competition becomes higher and higher and higher and higher, and it becomes like a bit of a zero-sum game, right? So it's incredibly tough out there, right? You know, and I don't think Alex Donaldson, who owns RPG Site, friend of the show, regular guest of the show, he kind of comments in this piece that he, obviously there's ChatGPT and stuff like that, but I don't think I don't think that's massively disruptive to us at the moment, especially not compared to the Google changes, which are the biggest thing by far. Mm-hmm. But he notes that also the owners of these websites can't be completely, cleared of what's happening. He says, and this is his quote, a not insignificant proportion of the losses the games media has suffered, I strongly feel, could have been avoided with better management, clarity, and more realistic expectations on the part of proprietors. Even this week, we've seen talented people with a high work output laid off by a larger parent that doesn't even seem to have a solid strategy. Unrelated stat or out of context stat. I'm told 20% of the layoffs this year were Valnet, Valnet sites. We've all worked for the big sites and we've seen this. And again, I guess it's like, it's funny. Christopher Dring, another friend of the show, the game business editor, also put a tweet up about this, about the Xbox. I mentioned earlier the Bloomberg story where they've mandated this seemingly unrealistic 30% profit margin. He said he works for a company that had an even higher one. So we can all guess which company that may or may not have been. It's I think the bottom line with this is that, and again, it's getting like a bit boring now because Alex says it here. Gareth Williams, who's the co-founder of Press Engine, also says it in this article. The bottom line is if we're moving, the model is changing very, very quickly. If you like a website, you like a content creator, please support them. If you like what we do on VGC, please support us, because otherwise you're going to see more of it go away. It's the gist of it that I was telling the people at Gamescom Asia is like, look, I know you guys have come here to hear me tell you about how we can support you, but actually it's the time for you guys to support us. Yeah. One of the big reasons that the games media has shrunk over the last, a couple of years is that the games industry needs to support its media because it needs a strong media. Because eventually all of those stories, all of that coverage is going to go away if they don't.
Yeah. It feels like it's like the transition that the music industry went through, where bands don't make money on making music and selling CDs. They make their money touring and selling merch, and to us, touring and selling merch is directly the Patreon. Like, that is the way that you give us money in a way that is not filtered through 1,000 headers and isn't like we obviously love you coming to the site and stuff like that, but there's a reason we offer like ad-free browsing. The money we get from you via Patreon completely outweighs any money an individual user can give us through browsing and things like that. So
yeah, it's quite odd how, ironic in a sense that we're basically going back to the model we started with. It was like before, when you wanted to support a publication, you would buy the magazine, and that was when the money came in from people buying the magazine. And then obviously as magazines started dying out and went online, people were like, well, the ad revenue will cover it, and now it's not. So we're going back to almost the magazine system.
It feels like going full circle monthly, to me,
yeah. So, and I mean, like we say, we don't exaggerate on social media whenever we say that the Patreon's keeping the doors open and keeping the lights on. Like, it is such a massive help.
And you've got, and this, the ecosystem is so. I mean, of course, like, I've got massive skin in the game, right? So of course I would say this, but games journalism is so important within the ecosystem of any kind of, like, anything around video games that you consume as a fan.
Yeah,
you've got streamers and YouTubers this week, reading these stories about these layoffs and the gamer and stuff because they don't like certain articles they wrote or whatever, and basically laughing at them, right? Like, ha ha ha, this is not there. Not missing the irony that their content that they're making money from is reading like our content about these layoffs aloud to their audience, right? This happens. So it's been going increasingly. You're seeing this sort of thing, right? Where the media's on fire and you have streamers or content creators reading our content aloud, with no accreditation at all. And that's the sad thing. So, I do worry that because, when I was young, when I was so lucky to come into this when I was 19, I wanted to write for a games magazine, games website, right? And so did Chris. Yeah. That was my dream job, was writing for CVG, and I got it. I don't think that's the case now, right? How many young people are going to be like, oh, I really want to write for a games website? So that's tough. But also within that reality, it's even more important to understand that content creators get their information from the games media. I mean, it's just that's just how it is. Yeah. We live within an ecosystem together. I mean, they have much larger audiences. They have probably a lot, bigger trust and authenticity with their particular audiences, but they're not journalists. They don't understand how to contextualize information, how to vet information. When games journalism goes away, you're just going to get PR. Yeah. Unfiltered PR regurgitated by, people who are not skilled or qualified to do otherwise. And again, before it gets clipped, there are some very good journalists who are content creators. In fact, I would have that argument even more passionately that there are so many people who call themselves content creators go, I'm not a journalist. And I say, no, you are a journalist. You could absolutely come and do what we do. Yeah. The guys, for example, there's a lot of guys on Kind of Funny, friends of the show, who insist, no, we're content creators. You're doing a content creator job, but you're journalists. Yeah. They are, they could easily come and do what we do. And there's a lot of people like that on YouTube.
Not that bitch Greg Miller, though. Retire, old man. When we come back, we will be talking about Assassin's Creed, Glenn Schofield, and taking a couple of questions. We'll be back in a minute. And we are back. Next up, I did not walk away, former Assassin's Creed boss says. He did not resign. He was asked to step aside. This is Mark Alexis Cote. He has claimed that he didn't resign from his role and was asked to step aside. VGC reported earlier in the week that Cote had left his role as the franchise boss that he's worked on for nearly 2 decades as a designer, director, and producer. The news came on the heels of the opening of the new Ubisoft subsidiary, part owned by Tencent Vantage Studios, which will now oversee its biggest franchises. In an email sent to staff on Tuesday, Vantage co-CEOs Charlie Guillemot and Christophe Derens claimed that sorry to the nation of France for everything we've done on this podcast, had been offered leadership roles at the subsidiary, but declined the role and instead decided to leave Ubisoft. Now Cote has published clarification of events on his LinkedIn page, stating that his position he was offered was not the one he was holding, and he appeared to be one of less importance. From the messages of colleagues, friends, and fans, a recurring theme has emerged that I feel like I need to clarify, Cote wrote. Many of you have expressed surprise that I would choose to leave Assassin's Creed after so many years, especially given the passion I still hold for it. The truth is simple, I did not make that choice. Ubisoft decided to transfer the leadership of the Assassin's Creed franchise to someone closer to its new organizational structure. A different position was mentioned, but it did not carry the same scope, mandate, or continuity with the work I had been trusted with in recent years. I did not walk away, says this duplicated story in my runner, apparently. Andy, this is a weird one. Ubisoft in a weird situation at the moment. What's your read on this?
It's I've actually spoken to a few people quite senior at Ubisoft this week, and they kind of suggested that it's not. I mean, I don't know how smoothly we expected this integration to go with the Tencent subsidiary. But certainly it sounds like it's not been without its struggles. I mean, it's difficult. This is the sort of information that I wouldn't put into a news story because it could just well be conjecture, but it comes from very, very well placed sources. That, culturally, I think Ubisoft are being a little bit more laid back, and I think the deal with Tencent. So I think they're investing the 1.5 billion, something like that, but certainly over a billion euros. Well, is it 1.16 billion euros? That's expected. I'm told when the deal closes before the end of the year. However, some people have told me that there are some stipulations, in the agreement that have to be hit, and Tencent are waiting for them to, to hit these, and part of that is, I'm told, is assigning franchise bosses, because obviously this new subsidiary is taking over Assassin's Creed, is it Far Cry and Tom Clancy Rainbow Six?
Rainbow Six, yeah.
And that's not some of them are in place, but I don't think all of them are in place. So that's one. Part of the issue another source told me, and I don't know if this is true at all, so please don't turn it into a news story. But there was some suggestion that maybe these franchise heads needed to be located in Paris, or certainly spend a lot of time in Paris, which is where their HQ is, which may have contributed to the situation with the Assassin's Creed heads. But yeah, I don't know. It just feels so messy right now, doesn't it? With Ubisoft, like all Western publishers. It's why I'm so happy to spend a lot of time in Asia, where they're not on fire currently. But oh my god, like it. I mean, of course, they've had like the horrific kind of internal, investigations around the sexual harassment allegations and stuff like that resulted in so many people leaving, and then, by choice or otherwise, but they're unrecognizable from 10 years ago. They're totally unrecognizable company, in my opinion. They can still create really good games, like we've seen with Shadows, but it felt like something like Shadows was like almost off the cuff for them a decade ago, whereas it very much felt like all hands on deck. Right. It's just the landscape for them is so different right now that something like the Star Wars game can come out and then just be, completely all future for that franchise then allegedly be shelved, and it's it's a bit sad.
That's
a weird one.
To me, like the fact that a Ubisoft big open world Star Wars game, and we're talking about it like it just frittered away and died. When if that hit in if that hit mid sequel trilogy when Ubisoft was really on its throttles, that'd have been an absolute mega seller.
I'm just curious to see what happens there in the next 6 months, because you look at, obviously they've set up this Vantage Studios subsidiary where they've put the three, what they believe to be the three big ones there. And then you look at what's happening elsewhere with everything that's left, and you see just this week alone, there may potential layoffs at Massive coming after Star Wars and the Avatar game. They're saying that we're now focusing on Division. We might be punting some people. And then you look at Red Lynx, who used to be a massive deal for Ubisoft because they did the Trials games, and that was a big deal. They're letting up to 80 people go, and they're purely focusing on mobile going forward. So you wonder if there's going to be further downsizing across the rest of the other Ubisoft teams, because the focus is on these three big ones, and whether all the other studios are going to suffer similar fates, which hopefully won't be the case. But it's going to be curious to see what happens there over the next few months. It's far from ideal.
They need to bring back Haze and get Haze 2 on the blower. They were making a Haze
Where's
2.
Rayman? Where's Big Rayman?
Yeah.
Get him.
Yeah. I mean, they are making that Rayman game, but I mean, hopefully it's good. That'd be really depressing if Rayman comes back and it's just like a total fart
open
in the wind.
world.
Yeah, open world, live service, towers. Yeah. Very quickly before we have to wrap for this week. Former Call of Duty director Glenn Schofield has said that he's immensely worried about the future of the franchise under Xbox. During a decade at Sledgehammer Games, Schofield directed installments of the Call of Duty franchise: Modern Warfare 3, which was a banger; Advanced Warfare, which is a banger; World War 2, which was a bit mince. He then left and co-founded his studio in 2019 and built the Callisto Protocol. Speaking to VGC at Gamescom Asia, Schofield said he was skeptical about whether the FPS franchise could remain as successful under Microsoft. Quote, I worry about it immensely, I really do. Because what's happening to Gears of War, where's Halo, you know what I mean? And you look at EA, you look at these big companies, and I'm like, where's the Strike games? Where's this game? And there's so many that just fall by the wayside. Unfortunately, once you've assimilated into one of these companies, I think you take on some of their traits. The other thing is, I don't know, but I would imagine that the Call of Duty bonus system is out, and now you have the tiers, and people are going, that isn't that. Call of Duty is a weird situation, Andy, because obviously there was a bit of reporting recently that obviously Microsoft took an absolute bath in putting it on Game Pass, but despite the troubles it's had, and it seems to be in quite a down period with the community at the moment, especially with the success of Battlefield, it still endures. Do you share these worries, or do you think he maybe has an emotional investment having directed 3 of them?
Oh, he's definitely got an emotional investment. But long term, I think they're legitimate questions to ask. And this was always something that I thought about before the deal was completed. Obviously, Microsoft will point to the fact that Black Ops 6 last year was the biggest launch. I believe it was the best-selling game in the US last year, but Call of Duty always is. But also, there was a big drop-off of players this year, more so than before. And it was following up a very, very disappointing entry. I think it was Modern Warfare 3, right? The one they pumped out, allegedly turned DLC into a full game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans would probably agree with him. Quality. I think he's talking about campaign.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about campaigns. And I don't think you can really disagree with him too much on that front. I think Raven's done a good job on the campaigns they've been working on. I really liked, was it Cold War? The one they did that was like semi kind of open.
Yeah, that was a decent one.
Yeah, I think they've done a decent job. But I think what he's talking about is kind of long term, and this is where I think it's a fair a concern to have, that these games are made like kind of like a result of the company culture. Activision was like the most, like other than EA, like the most capitalist American, public facing, company, making games. Mm-hmm. This big corporate giant, we're going to pump them out every year, and we're going to spend this amount on marketing, and they're a well-oiled machine, right? They got so good at that. And what he's talking about is like little things that you pops don't think about too much. Like, we're not going to pay you a massive bonus anymore, for this, because this is the way we work. And bit by bit, my concern was always, and I think Glenn seems to agree with me, that we've seen this so much. When you get acquired by these big corporations, it's the risk is always that you lose the innate pressure and incentive to get these games out. Mm-hmm. Like if Activision doesn't get a Call of Duty out every year, it's a disaster for them.
Yeah.
If and you've seen so many studios like within Microsoft, especially, who the example I'll give, probably the Initiative, who they've just closed on Perfect Dark. If they like made that studio, if they were an independent studio, they can't spend 6 years thinking about that game. You've got to ship a game. And the most successful first-party studios are studios like Insomniac, who they still act like they're independent. We need to get a game out every 2-3 years, or we're going to run out of money. I mean, obviously that's not the case within PlayStation, but that's how they behave. So I can see his concerns. I mean, they're on such an incredible run, Call of Duty, right? I mean, maybe one day we're going to look back at that and go, "Wow, what a business, right?" Yeah, that they're consistently the best-selling game in the US. They consistently have tens of millions of players. But you've got, Battlefield obviously came out this week and had a strong launch as well. It's difficult to tell because the player sentiment with Call of Duty is always people complaining, I think.
It's really down. It's really down in the.
That's what I mean. But you're a player as well, Jordan, and I think you might agree with me. Is that I kind of feel this time it's really true, though.
Yeah,
like they really want an alternative. They really want some competition, and competition is good for everything.
That's the thing. Nothing is too big to fail eventually over time, and people can only be disappointed.
Yeah, history shows. Yeah,
there was a time when, maybe not in terms of sales, but Pro Evolution Soccer was the football game among people who knew.
Winning 11,
Guitar Hero was the biggest franchise on earth, right?
And it's like, and you turn over 3, 4, 5 bad Pro Evolution Soccer games, and people go, well, let's have a look and see what FIFA has been doing since then.
And that was unthinkable like 15 years
ago.
Exactly,
100%. And now I'm sure eFootball still gets a good player base because it's free to play, but there's no competition between the two of them now. And if Battlefield delivers another good game after 6, then you could see that start to happen where Call of Duty, the unthinkable happens, and Call of Duty is no longer the big one.
You just never bet against Microsoft mismanaging something.
The reaction to Battlefield has been so interesting. Like, all the people in my life who play games who are not like super core players. So my cousin, he plays Destiny 2 or played Destiny 2 every night. He's got a clan. He's a guy like in his mid-40s. All his pals in his Destiny clan are in their mid-40s. That's what they do. They just play Destiny 2 all the time. And they've chucked Destiny for Battlefield. This is like the first sea change since Destiny 2 came out, basically. And they're all like, this is amazing. This is like a total breath of fresh air. We're all getting obsessed with Battlefield. On the other end, you see people who are completely Call of Duty pilled, being like, well, what do I grind for in Battlefield? Like, what is the infinite loop of stuff to do? Because there's not infinite skins like there are in Call of Duty. There's not that kind of the Call of Duty's been so TikTokified at this point where every time you log in, you're constantly getting like your screen is filling with all this stuff that you've just quote unquote earned. Whereas Battlefield's much more kind of methodic, and it's about you're playing it for the enjoyment of using the mechanics, which is very different. So, I hope it perseveres. I hope they stay in their own lanes. The worst thing that could happen is that the Call of Duty machine sees Battlefield success and goes, we need to make a Battlefield rather than we need to make another really good Call of Duty. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But yeah, I want to get back to some Battlefield. I was amazing at it when it was just journalists playing it, because journalists are shit at games, but now that people are really playing it, honestly, you really feel it when it's like multiplayer shooters or FIFA. When it's the journalists that have got it, it's fantastic. You feel like the best player in the world. You feel like the big boy in the room, don't you? at the preview events and stuff. Yeah. But man, Call of Duty is always my preferred tipple. Like I've had some of the best. I think 2020 Modern Warfare is Warzone rather is on my like Mount Rushmore of gaming experiences ever. And this is always my problem with Battlefield, right? Is that Call of Duty just feels so good. Oh, it's mechanically perfect. They just nailed that. Yeah. Nothing feels as good as Call of Duty. Yeah. And that's always, whenever I try Battlefield, I'm like, what is this? I feel like I'm running through treacle and I'm shooting like paper men, and it just doesn't feel the same. Yeah, it's proper war as hell. Like, you don't even know what's happening. Your head explodes and you're like waiting for someone to pick you up. Whereas I suppose that's a lot of the problems people have with Call of Duty are, now that people have perfected those mechanics in Warzone, people are just like sliding and jumping and spinning around, and it's like impossible to shoot people. So there's a middle ground somewhere. But yes, my obsessive time is really kicking off, because as of last night, Football Manager 26, it's out for, it's a weird situation they do where if you buy it now, you get beta access, which is essentially the full game until it's out, which is also what I'm currently playing, and I'm able to talk about it. Started a career as West Ham. You may have heard of them. Who? I think I know who they are. Honestly, I had my... Don't you dare mention West Ham on this podcast. I played it for about 3 hours last night, and I went to bed proper raging, because this... It's funny because I watched West Ham on Monday and I went to bed proper raging. So welcome. It was just immediately start up. My best player wants to go to Saudi. All these players who should be good are just absolutely refused to score. I had a game in the Carabao Cup where I had 24 shots, 14 on target, did not score. I was like, I feel like Ange. I can't put the ball in the back of the net. But that would be me for the next 6 months of my life. Seems pretty good though. Proper review of that. It's a weird situation, because it's like I can say whatever I want about Football Manager 26 right now, other than give it a score. So in about a week's time, I'll give it a score and we'll talk about it a bit more thoroughly. Plans for something for the weekend, Chris Scullion? What are you up to? Writing my book.
Just writing my book. That'll be my answer for the
Get that on the
6
soundboard.
months.
Someone
Writing
make
my
us a
book.
VGC soundboard. I give you full permission.
Go meow, meow, meow. Although I suppose that's we can't have any Westwood quotes in it now, but I would imagine probably God Rest Him has to be on there.
Yeah.
What else? What catchphrases do we?
This is the
actually
problem.
have
It's hard to be like self-referential about what you say all the time, whereas when I listen to podcasts and I pick up on people's vocal tics so
The
quickly.
Discord will come up with a list of 10 instantly. Like
Yeah.
right now, people on the Discord who are listening to this are immediately putting the list together.
It's like the ultimately thing in reviews. Like you don't realise you're doing it until someone
points
lays
it
out
out.
for you. Yeah, I had a run there where I was putting like incredible in like every second sentence, and
Yes, you did.
you just need to be told, and then you're like, oh yeah, okay, because sometimes it's just autopilot. But
To be fair though, you've sorted that though, because every time you do a review now, I go open up and do a find.
I do a find as
an
well.
incredible
but,
count.
do one or two maybe is all right, but
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I was getting the absolute piss ripped out of me in my the comments from my ZA review because of a editing quirk that I had to take out to like fit within embargo guidelines. I repeated the same phrase like 3 times, and they were commenting. That's like, okay, that's quite funny. But they seemed to take it as some kind of like evidence of payola, and I was like, mate, I promise you, it's just an incredibly tight deadline, an incredibly tight embargo guideline, and me being completely sleep deprived. But people never look at things from the benefit of the doubt perspective. It's always the most conspiratorial evil.
we're always the scum of the earth as soon as we slip up even slightly.
Speaking of scum of the earth, Andy, what are you up to this weekend?
I'm going to go to MCM Comic Con.
Oh, nice. You're competing in the cosplay competition, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, everyone's coming to see me.
Yeah. You're doing a tight 60 minutes. Andy live on stage.
Yeah,
£100
why
a
the
photo.
games media is dead.
That'd be a good talk.
I'm going to. Chris String is doing a panel, a Time Splitters panel.
Oh, nice.
So I might go to that. Some of the GoldenEye guys there. Alex is doing a on-stage interview with the Final Fantasy VII remake director.
Nice.
We've got an interview with him going up. By the way, it might be up by the time you listen to this podcast. So check the website. What else is going on there? I don't know. It's just it's on my doorstep. It's literally like 20 minutes from where I live.
Is it at the XL?
Yeah, it's at the XL. Yeah,
Oh.
I used to go. I used to be a regular.
it's really
When I
busy
lived
as
in
well.
London.
Like compared
Yeah.
to all the other ones they have there, it's like Ramo, absolutely Ramo. People really get into it, like as you'd imagine, being in London. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. I asked the kids if they wanted to go, and they said no.
No. Dad,
So stuff them then. Stay indoors.
Dad, you literally drag us to Japan. I'm not bothering myself with London's Docklands. My question is Ben Starr getting a crust here? I would put £1 million on him being part of this.
I'm sure this is protect. If you're listening to this before 3 p.m. on Friday, just don't tell anyone. Yeah. So I'm sure they don't mind this. I asked. It's Hamaguchi-san, isn't it? The director. I asked him, Ben. I asked Ben Starr, like, have you got anything to ask Hamaguchi-san? And he said, "Can you ask him if I can voice a golden chocobo in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3?"
I can voice a golden chocobo?
Yeah, that's really good, Ben. You should take some work. Like if he's like got a sore throat or something. And Hamaguchi-san said, he laughed and he said, "I'll ask the team." And then he said, damningly, he went, "Ben Starr seems to be at every event that I go to." He said, "Whenever I go to an event anywhere in the world, Ben Starr is there." And I went, "Yep, correct." And he's like, "I imagine he's at Comic-Con tomorrow." Yeah, well, yeah, he is. He is actually. Yeah, he's doing a
Imagine he just answered that prick. that was what he said.
Oh God, love him.
Good old Ben.
Appearing all 3 days. So if you want a photo op or an additional print, you can go to MCM Comic Con London. Fridays at 20 to 5, Saturday 5:30, and Sunday at 3 p.m.
Is that
You're his
true?
agent?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I'm going to take something. What can I get signed by Ben Starr?
Yeah, but he'll charge you for it.
Should I get him to sign
good?
my media brand of the year?
You should.
What would Ben Starr charge for that? 50 quid a skull?
64 quid a skull, apparently.
Seriously?
According to this. Although, as far as I'm aware, and I've heard this from many in the Comic-Con world, the cuts that these events take are massive. So yeah. Perhaps not to the point where Hayden Christensen is charging about 700 quid to like sniff his hair, but yeah, quite a lot. You think about how much Hayden Christensen is charging, I'd much rather meet Ben Starr, a man I've never met, for £64. So go and check that out. Go and check that out. Right, okay. I'm feeling delirious at this point, so I'm going to go and try not collapse. Thank you very much for listening / watching. Check out patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. This week we put up our off-topic podcast, which you can go and check out. We complain about BA. We talk about Bangkok and Singapore, apparently different places. We talk about Celtic and West Ham, but you can get that, ad-free browsing, and a whole lot more. Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
Say goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
See you next time.